Yep. So one thing I'm interested in is you found this niche, this data analytics niche, and kind of the meat of what we want to talk about today. What fascinates me is this gig economy. So you found a niche. Ultimately, you decided that you could make money off of this niche, and then you took it to the next step. And I don't consider it boring, but some people might consider internal audit boring, and you developed a whole social media plan around that in terms of you're very active on LinkedIn. You do a podcast that's popular in your niche. You're building a business off of this niche. Can you talk about that? Like, what was that journey like? How did you decide I can turn this into a career? And then social media is the way to get gigs off of that.
Yeah, I think we just saw the need or the demand. I mean, all of our literature from the publications, the internal audit or the audit publications, they've been talking about analytics for years.
Yeah.
And then every year, tons of companies do surveys. All the big four do surveys, and you look at it, and the surveys would always come back and go, "Yeah, we're trying to do it, but we can't," or "Yeah, it's on our plan for next year," or something like that.
Yep.
And so we just kind of sat there and said, "Well, we know how to do that. Why not just? Well, we could just do that for people." So that's kind of where it got started. We just felt like the demand was out there, and we knew how to do it. We knew how to do it really well, and so we kind of fill that gap. As far as social goes, I was pretty terrified to get on there. I think Facebook came out like 2 years before I went to school or like went to college, and that's when it was just college.
Yeah.
And like I'd put pictures up or whatever for a couple years, and then didn't like once Twitter came around, I was like, I'm done. Like it's too much already, And like Instagram hadn't really even come out yet, but we're basically required to have a LinkedIn profile, so I always had that and would log in occasionally and scroll through. And then eventually it was just like, all right, man, you got to, I think a big piece of being an entrepreneur is being uncomfortable. And so I got comfortable with that. And so just started posting more, made it a point for a while to post every day. Probably did that for 6-9 months before bringing it back a little bit. But I remember it wasn't even my first post. It was the first comment that I left on a post. And like I was sitting in the office and I saw it and I was like, okay, this is the one. I'm going to do it. I'm going to reply. I'm going to add a comment to this guy's post. And it's somebody who now, and he's been on my podcast since. He's like a top 10 internal audit thought leader. So kind of a big deal. In
It's
our
like Norman
profession.
Marks. That's the only top 10.
Well, so Norman is in my opinion, but Hal Guerin is right up there with him, and it's fantastic. And so is Hal, and he's on LinkedIn all the time, posting about stuff other than internal audit. But I told him this story when he came on, but I started write the comment, and then I was like, no, I don't like that. I'm going to change that. And then I'd go back in and I'd get caught up doing something else, and I'd come back. It took me 4 hours to just write a comment. It was like 3 sentences. And then I was finally, I had to leave the office, and I was just like, all right, I hit send, went home. As soon as I got home, like pulled it up on my phone, and Hal's reply was, okay, thanks, Trent. I'm not really sure I get what you're talking about, though. And I was just like, something. Like I spent all that time, and he was just like, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, man. So I think, but once I got over that hump, like it was a lot easier to just even to comment on people's stuff. Like you don't want to be judged for, what you're putting out there, but I at least pretty quickly got over that. And then, naturally from that, I would put something out, post something or whatever. But, and then from there, as far as the podcast goes, I was talking to a friend of mine, Blake Bozart, who is he's big on LinkedIn. And once Clubhouse hit, he was like, I'm going Clubhouse. So he's been hitting that really hard and doing really good work there. But he kind of got in my circle, and we had like that 30-minute intro call, and we talked, and then got done, and like 2 minutes later he called me back, and he's like, dude, you got to start a podcast for internal audit. And I was like, yeah, I've been thinking about that for a year or so, but never really did it. And he just kind of told me all the benefits of doing it, and said within a niche, like it's perfect, you should do it. And so it was either that day or the next day, I wrote a post that just said, hey, I'm starting a podcast for internal auditors. And then like the next sentence was, now I just got to figure out how to start a podcast for internal auditors. So I made it like a point to like put it out there, to like almost hold myself accountable, so that, in 6 months goes by or whatever, people are like, dude, what about that podcast you're going to start? Where did you ever do anything with that? So
they say there's an audience for every niche. And I think that's true, especially like the connected way the internet is. And an internal audit is certainly a niche. How's your audience responded? Have you seen like positive results in terms of leads and opportunities and
Yeah.
stuff like that from it?
Yeah, it's been great leads and opportunities wise. And then also, I mean, I remember after we published the first one, I was sitting beside my wife, like we basically work back to back almost in our home office. And a couple hours went by and I finally looked at the downloads. 11 people downloaded it. And I was like, holy shit, 11 people downloaded this. Can you believe 11 people are listening to what I'm saying? And it was just like blown away. And then just stuck with the consistency of putting out, an episode. Initially, it was every 2 weeks because I didn't think I was going to be able to get enough guests to fill a weekly episode or a weekly show. And it caught on really quick. And so we're able to do one a week. And just like with anything, you post every day for 6 months. Eventually, you're going to get a following of some degree. And if we put out content, consistently, every Tuesday, it's dropping every Tuesday. And so that's, been part of it, and it's grown. Almost every episode has more downloads than the previous episode, usually by a decent margin, so it's doing really well. But as far as leads and opportunities, it's probably been the best thing that I've